Hi, welcome to the Freeman Conversations. I'm Jobert Octal, the online editor of the Freeman, and we are speaking with you right here from the School of Law and Governance at the University of San Carlos, whose team made Cebu and the Philippines proud when they emerged as overall winner in the international rounds of the 2018 Prize Media Law Moot Court competition held at the University of Oxford in England. And I'm sitting here today with, of course, two of their the team's members and one of their coaches. Our mooters are Mr. Mark Lawrence Badayos and, of course, Stephanie Marie Abigail Alea. Congratulations to both of you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for saying yes to speaking with us today. And of course, one of their coaches, Attorney Daryl Largo. Sir, thank you for joining us today. And of course, before I ask more questions, so that for the benefit of those who might not have an idea of what Moot Court is, can you please tell our audience what the Moot Court competition is all about and why is it important to the University of San Carlos?
So a moot court competition we can say it's like a mock trial before an international tribunal. In this case, we're pleading before the Court of Universal Court of Free Expression. So we represent fictional characters. In this particular case, we are representing a citizen of a fictional state called Tertonia, and the name of this fictional character is Peeps. Allegedly, his freedom of expression was violated by the state, and so we had to fight for him. So we are agents for our applicants, for our clients, and there's another team opposing who will also plead on behalf of their agent.
I see. So before you went to the international competition, the finals, you had to undergo elimination round, so to speak. So before the University of Oxford, what other competitions did you have to undergo in the regionals?
You had to go through the Asia Pacific rounds, which was held in Beijing last December. And then the top three teams would be the ones to represent the Asia Pacific in the Oxford rounds. And apart from USC representing the Philippines, we have Malaysia and China as the three.
As the three?
Yeah.
So all three of you went to the University of Oxford for the finals.
So during the regional rounds in Renmin University, if I'm not mistaken, in China, there were around 15 teams from all over Asia Pacific who participated, and the top three teams got to represent Asia Pacific in the international rounds in Oxford, where all the other winners or top three teams from all the other regions in the world also participated.
Did I get it correct that there were also other schools that made it to the regional round aside from USC?
Yeah.
Yes, but then for the Philippines, it's only USC.
Okay.
The other countries, yeah.
In the Asia Pacific round, there were, I think, 3 more Philippine law schools who joined. If I'm not mistaken, there was University of the Philippines College of Law.
Okay.
And Lyceum.
Yes.
I don't remember if Sanbed joined or any other Philippine team, but USC bagged the crown. By the way, it was successive. A year before, we were also regional champions. But this year, only USC represented the Philippines because all other Philippine law schools did not make it in the Asia Pacific round.
That alone is a big achievement already.
That's right.
Yeah. So to the other question, why is this important to?
This is important for the University of San Carlos School of Law and Governance because in this university, I believe they're not only preparing us for the bar exams, but they're likewise preparing us for the real practice of law, for when we pass the bar exams and the life after that. And moot court competitions, debate competitions actually offer you a glimpse of what it will be once you start the practice of law. We've had a lot of good stories, a lot of good experiences. In fact, although not all the students in USC Law get to participate in the actual international and national competitions, we try to bring it back home. That is why Sir Daryl here, in fact, organizes moot court competitions in his class. and a lot of our professors organize debate competitions, inter-block or inter-class. This is why it's important, because we do not only prepare for the bar exams, we train good lawyers who can really handle cases once we are able to survive or hurdle the bar examinations.
Yeah, I share the same sentiments, and our excellence we strive for excellence, and we don't only exhibit this in our competitions but also in the classrooms. It starts in the classrooms, and it's precisely why teachers, especially Sir Daryl here, really hones each person's talents, and it is through this that we develop our skill in speaking, which is very vital in this profession.
Right. Is this also the same debate team in law school, or there's another team that participates in debate competitions?
Well, how do you put that, sir?
Right. I'm just so happy that in University of San Carlos School of Law, I think we have sufficient number of people whose talent we can tap for the various debate competitions. There are different debaters also in other competitions. Some are also being asked to participate in another competition, but basically we have different sets of debaters. As you can see, we have participated in ANC Square Off.
Right.
I think we have a different team here. That's the Prize Media Law last year. We also have Stetson Environmental Law competition. We have TESO and many other competitions. We do actually have several sets of mooters and debaters.
Pardon my ignorance, but how many moot court competitions are there in the world?
I'm not keeping track, but what I know is that 3 of the biggest moot court competitions in the world are Jessup. We participate also in Jessup, Prize, and Stetson being the largest international environmental law moot court competition. And well,
which the school also was able to.
We did participate.
Yes.
In fact, we won the Stetson World Championship in 2016. Together.
You were a part of that team.
It was I and Tess. Unfortunately, she can't come.
Yes.
So it is an honor, actually, to be able to represent USC in the global stage and tell the entire world that the quality of legal education one can get in USC School of Law.
Right. Because for many years it's been the schools in Manila that really made it to the international stage, and now
yes,
we're showing and proving to the world that schools
we can do just as good,
even better, even better.
I would say.
Yeah, I would have to ask this question to Attorney Daryl, just so there will be no bias. How do these guys get selected to become part of the team?
Okay. Basically, we have several ways of knowing who's going to be included in the team. Okay. For one, we have some moot court competitions in our subjects. We also have some college level debate competition. So from there we can see who are going to be selected. And secondly, also we as professors, we can also observe students from their performance in the classroom. Okay. And some professors would also suggest to try and check if one student would fit in a mooting or debating competition. So it's either the professor or we see them in competitions also in school.
What does it take to become a mooter? What qualities do you look for a potential mooter?
Yeah. For one, facility in the language is very important because mooting is advocating. Okay. And if you don't have the facility of the language, well, definitely you will not be part of the team. Second, of course, you must also excel academically.
Okay.
Because excellent performance in the academic subjects would also show that these are really good, intelligent students. Because there are students who can speak very well, but not that good
Right.
intellectually. So it's a balance. Thirdly, also, we are not just looking for persons who are intellectually good and have the facility of the language, but they must also be willing to sacrifice, devoted to the
Trainings.
mission, to the trainings.
Yeah.
So actually, it's difficult to choose who among the students can meet those standards and demands.
So do I get it correctly that the Mooters get picked or selected?
Yes.
You
Basically,
cannot,
we choose.
you cannot apply for it or audition for it.
Well, those who want to join the mooting or debating team can actually join in the competitions that we have organized in
okay.
school,
Okay.
so that it gets scouted in a way.
Mm.
But definitely, I myself, together with other members of the coaching staff, will decide who's going to be part of it.
I see. It's very enlightening. Attorney Darrell mentioned that you should not only be good in speaking and intelligent, but you must also be able to sacrifice
That's right.
for the team. What
Yes.
kind of sacrifices did you have to make to be able to be effective as a mooter?
Well, I think a common denominator would be time. Time for studies or actual subjects at school. Time for the family. Like, for example, the mooting season starts like in the second half, which is September onwards. So we should necessarily sacrifice probably a few of the holidays instead of going to the beach or going somewhere. Well, we choose, and we're happy to be here in the war room, working on our craft and anything to help the team. And it's our choice, and it makes us happy, and it ultimately reflects in the results.
Right,
Yeah.
right. How do you manage your time? Because San Carlos is known to be very demanding as far as academics is concerned. Well, the law school at least. And now, here's something else that we need to also give special attention to.
It is. I think it's a very good question though, because unlike our classmates or batchmates who are not mooting or debating for the University of San Carlos, we don't get as much time to study. Like, for example, if you're a regular law student in the university, you can have as much as 8 hours in a day to study for your subject.
Right.
But in our case, like once the mooting season begins, we, if not half of our time for study, maybe like let's say 6 out of 8 hours we devoted for mooting. So we sacrifice a whole lot in terms of time. Use it for preparations for mooting and debate. And I think though that although it's a sacrifice, but I think it's good in a way that it teaches us a lot of things. Like, for example, personally, I would study before in a very, how to call that, in a manner that's not very streamlined, but
Okay.
because of the unavailability of time, the way that I study right now for my subjects is that I get to pick the most fundamental of the lessons, and then I get to pick which ones should I need to remember the most if the time comes that there would be an active examination or
So prioritizing.
prioritizing.
How long do you guys train? Well, in a day, for example.
Yeah, it's like this. In most competitions, the competition will require the participants to submit first what we call memorials,
Okay.
and that's also part of the competition.
What is this, attorney?
Memorials are actually pleadings that we submit to the fictitious court. Much like similar to the actual practice, where a case is heard, but the advocates, lawyers will first submit what we call pleadings. These are written arguments actually.
Okay.
So let's say the competition international round will be sometime in April, but actually the work for the memorials, for example, would usually start in September or October. So from September to up to December, in most cases, we'll be very busy preparing for the memorials. And then we start preparing for the oral rounds after the submission of the memorials. In other words, we prepare for the oral rounds barely 1 month before the actual oral competition actually.
It's a long process.
It's a
long process. Pretty much
tedious,
like real life court proceedings.
I would say so.
In fact, I also have my law firm. I have realized that I sometimes spend more hours in this fictitious legal problem than in my actual cases. Even in those very serious and heavy cases that I handle, I still notice.
This is longer.
Yes.
And I think you're practicing in the Philippines where the justice system can take years.
That's right.
And I think also that that's one of the reasons, one of the secrets behind the success of USC Law in terms of moving and debating, because we don't only have talents, we also have coaches who are very devoted.
Right.
In fact, making use of supposed time for their actual practice in the profession, yet they devote it to training us and all that. That's why we're very thankful to Sir Daryl and Dean John Largo and the rest of the USC Law faculty.
Of course. And before if we can just backtrack a bit to the process that you have to undergo before you reach the international competitions here in the Philippines. Are there elimination rounds as well before you reach the Asia Pacific level?
There is none. The Asia Pacific regional rounds, it's the
First qualifying round.
it's the first qualifying round for all the Asia Pacific countries in the Asia Pacific, rather.
That would depend on the competition also because JESOP, for example, which is actually the largest booking competition in the world, will have a qualifying round only in the Philippines. Prize will have qualifying round regional state,
I see.
regional basis.
Okay.
So it would depend on the competition.
I see. How does it feel to be competing with or against the best teams in the world? What lessons did you learn from there?
Well, it's definitely nerve-wracking and then, intimidating at first, especially before the announcement of the schedule, where you get to meet the teams, but you don't know who you're up against. You don't know what your schedule for the next day will be. You don't know which side you're playing, whether the applicant or the respondent. Because in the competition, we can play either.
I see, okay.
So we have to shift our mental state to, for example, if it's applicant and in the next round within the day is respondent, then we have to quickly change our routine. And
Right, your arguments. Yeah.
So it's very intimidating at first, especially for the welcoming dinner prior to the announcement of the schedule. Then
What happens during the welcoming dinner? Why does it become intimidating?
they usually release the matchups during that dinner, and then but prior to that, you get to mingle with the other teams, and you get to see how they are, their aura, and knowing, speculating which universities they're from, whether they're from Oxford, from Cardozo, the previous champions.
Yeah,
So
universities.
it's very intimidating. However, when you start with the championship, with the rounds, and then you get the hang of it, you get the feel of the competition, and then you gain confidence. But it's not that confidence was never there. It's just that, not knowing is a factor.
Many
also.
factors
Yeah.
involved also. You are competing in, was it at the peak of winter when you were there?
So we were told it was supposed to be
Towards the end,
spring,
I think.
but
It was still very
Start-
Yeah.
But I saw several
Spring.
pictures, but you were all wrapped up.
Yeah, because it was
that's
so
probably
cold.
towards the end of winter. Supposedly spring.
Does it affect you, the environment, when you compete?
Well, yes. Well, for prize, it did affect us because we had sniffles, especially in the Beijing rounds because we both got sick.
In Beijing, for one, when was the competition in Beijing?
It was in December, so it was
Okay.
the peak of winter.
Right.
And both of us got sick, and we had to go through the competition with considering those factors. But then we managed to pull through.
Very nice. Yeah, you were saying.
with respect to your question,
Yeah.
I think that how I personally felt when I was already there in Oxford, and at the back of my mind was these are the champion teams from their regions also. They might be, if not just as good, they might be better than us. And so the ultimate goal was to win the championship for USC in the Philippines. So it's really overwhelming. But I always just go back to the training that we have in USC Law for many, many years and for many, many competitions. It has always been proven that nothing really beats training. Nothing beats preparation, hard work, and the trust that you give to your teammates, the trust that your coaches have given to you. I think that's the biggest weapon that you have in order not to get really intimidated and just drown in being overwhelmed by the presence of these guys.
For the benefit of the public watching us right now, you competed against schools from the US, the United Kingdom, Singapore, Canada, India, China, Germany, among others, and eventually during the championship, you were able to beat Singapore Management University.
Yes.
Did you anticipate the university as your toughest competition in the finals?
Yes, because Singapore Management University actually won the title 2 years in a row before this year. In fact, SMU was supposed to have the back-to-back title, three-peat.
They were gunning for a three-peat.
A Grand Slam actually this year.
You destroyed that whole
And SMU is really well known, really achiever in a lot of court competitions, not just in prize, but also in Jessup. And so we expected either Singapore Management University or University of Oxford, India, and some law schools in the US to also come out as strong teams in the finals. But we did expect SMU.
How was it competing against SMU? Did they meet your expectations?
What
kind of challenges did you face facing them?
I would say they are really, really good, and you can really tell that they come from an institution that has a long history of excellence in mooting and debating competitions, because the way they speak, they're very polished, they know their law, they know the facts of the case, they're able to get the attention of the judges and command the discourse. Overall, they're really, really well, and they even managed to exceed our expectations. But that being said, I think that SMU, to be fair, and I hope they share my sentiments, they probably also saw us as a threat in the competition.
Did you feel that during the competition?
Well, there were some
signs?
giving of cold shoulders and all that, which I think is normal.
Yeah.
Because we were looking at each other's eyes, figuratively.
Yeah.
But I think that they also saw us as a threat.
Yeah.
Yes, actually, Philippines in most mooting competitions, in fairness to our teams that have been sent there before us, Philippines have been known to really perform well also in mooting.
I see, because I'm supposed to ask attorney, what is our reputation in the international moot court competitions?
That's the same reputation as well, because 2015 Philippine team won for the prize. 2016, 2017 Philippine teams also reached the semi-final rounds, and then we got the title in 2018. So I'm sure they were also feeling the same way.
What's next for the moot court team? What are you preparing for? The two of you are graduating or graduated.
I am graduating. I just graduated.
You just graduated.
Sorry. with one of the other teammates, that's Dan.
That's Dan.
He just graduated last April 20. Abby is,
congratulations.
thank you.
Yeah.
You'll be taking the bar in November?
Hope yes.
And Abby is an incoming senior.
Fourth year.
Will you still be part of the moot court team?
Yes.
Oh, by the way, attorney, who are qualified to be in the moot court team? Anyone, any level?
Any student who will still be connected with the school during the last day of the competition.
I see.
So that's why Mark was graduating, since the graduation in USC was in April 20, and the competition was April 13.
Somewhere around.
Somewhere there,
So he qualified for that. In most cases, that's the requirement. You should still be a student during the international round.
That's the international requirement. But what
Yes.
about the SC?
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, you can be a first
It doesn't
year,
matter.
fourth year, doesn't matter really. But in most cases, since moot courts actually deal with international law, we prefer students who had already taken up public international law. And so these are students who had already passed second year, second semester. But even if these students, if we feel they really have the capacity, the ability, the potential, we actually ask them to join the team. And we had mooters before who even represented the Philippines in GESO by the name of now attorney Vincent Joseph Sisista, who started his mooting career when he was still a first year.
Wow.
Yes. So it's not really a requirement, but I think it's a plus factor if you have already studied public international law, because the topics really are public and that's the reason why I'm with the team, because that's the course, the subject that I'm teaching.
If you're teaching here in law school. Just to be clear about it, so our public won't get confused. While you are arguing in a fictional court during the competition, you're actually tackling real laws.
We are.
That's true. That's true.
So in this case, we focused on, well, Article 19 of the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights. This actually talks about freedom of expression, as the spirit of the competition is really about free speech and free expression. And so from there, we get to read a lot of real cases decided by international human rights tribunals, such as the European Court of Human Rights, the African Court of Human and People's Rights. So we read all these real cases and real laws, although we apply them in a fictional case.
Yeah, we tackle real world issues and apply laws which are followed in different legislations, and more so with international tribunals. However, although the facts are fictional, they're more or less about a particular issue that's erupting in society. In this case, we talked about fake news and how one can still freely express his sentiments despite the fact that what he's expressing might be found to be false in the future. And the other issue was non-consensual pornography, which is practically covered under our voyeurism law, and how it has expanded. And those were the issues that we tackled.
Yeah, because if I may add, actually the writers of the problem, it's a hypothetical problem, so it's fictional. The writers actually are inspired by actual events, actual situations. So they would come up with a story, fictional character, place, country, everything fictional. But we can tell that these are based on actual cases. And so we are required also to explore what relevant laws and case laws shall be forwarded to the court.
I see. Abby is an incoming senior law student. Is it the busiest year in USC Law? The senior year, or not so? Not so much.
Well, I think every year is busy for a law student.
Good answer.
But probably this would be the most critical one, because you have to apply everything that you've learned the previous years, and the senior year is practically your review year, and you have to give it your all. It's practically everything you learn, you have to encapsulate it in that one booklet that you're gonna take.
The coverage will be more comprehensive than the lower years.
Will you still be part of the moot court team?
I'll definitely be affiliated with the team. I'll be helping out.
But we don't know
But
which
we
competition
still
yet.
we haven't settled out or ironed out our schedule yet.
For to those who might be interested to go into law school and be like you guys, compete in moot court competitions, what's your advice?
Advice. So here's the hard part. So I would say, because you would know that you have it in your heart, the ability and the drive to engage in discourse in all these tackling of issues. So if you have the heart for being able to air out what you think and what you feel, then this is the proper place for you. The second thing is that you can't just dream about it, you can't just plan it, you also have to be there for when the going gets tough. You have to stay committed, you have to make sure that your time gets sorted out in a way that's beneficial not only for you but also for the team. It requires a lot of commitment. And lastly, I would say you always have to stay grounded despite the achievements that you have, despite all the recognitions, because
It's usually one of the most hardest.
staying grounded.
Yes, yes.
I would say so,
Yeah.
because the temptation to go out and tell the entire world about who you are, what you've
Yeah.
achieved as a person, it's really really tempting. But what I do know though is that having at least had, modesty aside, having had all these achievements, I would say that people do not really just look at you because of your achievements, but how you're able to help and touch their lives.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the spirit of this course really gets in, because it's about your willingness to help other people out by sharing your opinion.
That's right. And speaking of being grounded, I have to correct myself because I just committed a grammatical error earlier. It's one of the most hard.
It's okay.
Or one of the hardest. Abby, what's your advice?
Well, just to add to that, I think that you really have to be ready to sacrifice, whether it's time or probably going out with friends. You have to be ready to get into those books, to understand what you're reading, and not just flip those pages for the sake of finishing the book.
Or memorize it.
You have to understand, and you have to know what you want. And you can't just shoot blanks and say, I want the title, I want the title attorney. That's not enough. You have to be willing to do what it takes to read those books, to, if it need be, to socialize in order to understand the environment, and to work hard. And it's not playtime anymore.
And if I may just add, and this is also one thing that's been instilled to us by our coaches, it's being excellent. It's not just something that you get to decide like at a random time, at a random day.
Right.
It's actually like choosing to be excellent every time you have the opportunity to be excellent.
Consistency.
Consistency is what makes you excellent. And so it's a way of life. It's something that Sir Daryl and King John has taught us, which is the reason why we don't only have one trophy here, but
Correct.
a lot of trophies.
Yes, yes.
If
So-
I may,
Yes, okay.
just very quickly, I really admire, and maybe this is the best time to say this in public. I salute these guys who did this for the school. I know that they spent a lot of sacrifices for this, but one thing is for sure, they have not neglected their academics.
Right.
And in USC law, while we have these competitions, we don't give special treatment to our mooters and debaters.
That's a very good point to
Yes.
make. A reminder.
That's right, because you ask us for those who want to enter
Yes.
those school and join probably. They take the same exams. They are required to attend classes. They sometimes, if they will not attend classes, they also take the risk of being called in the recitation and get a fight. And so in most cases, they will attend classes nonetheless. So with that, some sort of dilemma, because we don't give them special treatment, never. They were able to, balance all these demands, and having this is really an accomplishment, and I salute these guys for doing that for the school. We're only here to, guide them, but the
Well, the dirty
groundwork,
work.
everything, we owe it to these mooters, so I congratulate them. They're the ones very instrumental to this.
Congratulations to both of you and to Tess.
Yes.
And to Tess, of course, and to Tess is not
And to Dean John.
to Dean, our Dean, of course, who always make it a point that we stick to our game plan, stick to our mission, and we're just so happy that we have a very good, probably the best leader in our team.
Speaking of which, attorney, what motivates the School of Law to always excel? In this case, moot court competition, you don't have to do this because this is something extra.
I know. Okay. Maybe it's hard for some practicing lawyers also to appreciate why we still manage to give time to mooting competitions. Well, when we were in our undergraduate courses and up to law school, myself and the dean had also been debating, and that passion continued even up to now that we are teaching in the university. And it's hard to explain, but the passion is still burning, and it never ends actually. And so that
Because
probably
I heard that debating is addictive.
yeah, maybe. So from first year political science all the way to fourth year law school, it's more of AB political now. AB political science minor, major in debate. Even in law school, myself and the dean.
The dean, of course, is your wife.
Yes.
For those who might not have an idea.
Yes, and something might have developed somewhere. So we were partners in most of the debating competitions that we had. Myself and the dean had been debating. So that probably is the inspiration. And we don't want to end our probably career in debating. It's still really very addictive. Probably that's the reason. Not to mention that, of course, we want to show to the world that University of San Carlos offers the best quality level of quality of education, legal education. And one way of showing that is to also excel in competitions.
Right.
Because if you don't have that quality of the legal education, I don't think you'll be able to excel in the first place. So a lot of factors actually, not to mention the personal ones, but our loyalty to the school, to the university is another thing.
Right.
And that loyalty probably is something also difficult to explain why we are that loyal to the university, but it simply exists. And that's why we are doing this. And we will keep on doing it.
What's next for the team? What's the next competition you're preparing for?
Now we'll just take a rest. We're looking at some competitions probably in July or August. We still haven't decided whether to join or not, but we'll see if the students would be willing to participate, because we're on vacation now. Our classes will start the first sem in August, so it's hard to ask required students to come to school and prepare.
Right, because we're in the transition phase now.
Yes.
Of the calendar year.
And a lot of the invitations for the competitions come in around August, so
Yeah.
that's when we know.
Yeah, we will decide by then.
But of course, San Carlos should continue, right? Upholding this one.
Definitely.
I think that's certain. That's certain.
Definitely.
Certain. It's just a matter of choosing which ones
Yes.
we'll participate in.
Uh-huh.
Again, Attorney Daryl
Thank you.
Largo, congratulations, and to both of you,
Thank you.
congratulations
Thank you.
for winning the trophy and the championship for San Carlos, for Cebu, and the Philippines. And we can only wish another trophy for the school.
Not far. Not
No
far.
pressure. No
you,
pressure,
sir.
no pressure.
It's an honor.
And of course, joining us in this edition of the Freeman Conversations, our champion mooters, Mark Lawrence Badayos and Stephanie Marie Abigail Olea, and of course their team member, Plasatan, who cannot be with us today. We congratulate once again the three of them for bringing pride to USC and the Cebu and the Philippines, and of course one of their coaches, Attorney Daryl Largo, the husband of the Dean of the School of Law and Governance here in USC, Attorney Joanne Largo. Thank you for joining us in this edition of the Freeman Conversations, and join us again next time as we continue to speak to champions and highlight what Cebu can offer to the Philippines and to the world. I'm Jobert Octal, the online editor of the Freeman. Thanks for joining us. Join us again next time here on the Freeman Conversations.